If you like what you watch, then don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Twitter for the latest updates on The More Show. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel for new weekly television and radio shows.
All new on The More Show. Find out how Helene went from a size 22 to a size 8. And how this man who was a drug addict and a heavy smoker has turned to marathon running and dropped from a size 18 to 10. Finally, wave goodbye to the old you and discover the secret of permanent weight loss with life coach Ali Campbell and intuitive counselor Jules Williams. Ten years ago, Helene Panzarino was a size 22 and depressed. But now Helene has inspired many women to regain control of their lives, rediscover their self-esteem and self-respect. Let's watch her incredible journey of transformation.
My family, oh gosh, quite large family. There were 6 kids in total, and then my parents. They were large in size for a lot of the time that I was growing up as well. My mother was very, very large. She was probably about 42 to 45 stone. And my dad was thinner and then started to pile on weight, just being married to my mother. I sort of fell somewhere in the middle. I wasn't really skinny. I was just about an average size child.
Her mother has always been a comfort eater, and she would reward her children by giving them treats.
Everyone in my family grew up knowing that if you were good, you got food. The reward was food. If you were bad, you didn't get food. So being good and getting food were a kind of correlation. For my mother, and we found this out after she unfortunately and very tragically and sadly died, I think a lot of what was happening in her life was there was a lot of abuse in her past around her father. She found comfort in food.
Helene, however, was never a comfort eater, and she was an average size throughout her teens. But in her early 20s, she was diagnosed with hypothyroidism through a regular blood test. However, it did not affect her, and she led a healthy lifestyle until her late 30s.
And then suddenly, probably I was about 38, I was training for another marathon, and I started to gain 10, 15 pounds a month and started to lose all my hair. My eyebrows, my eyelashes. I was very tired. I was very cold.
For 2 years, doctors told Helene that she was just depressed and that there was nothing wrong with her, until she had to force them to give her a thorough checkup.
And then it transpired that my antibodies were not right, and that my thyroid, I had the active form of something called Hashimoto's, which is a thyroid autoimmune condition. And that seemed to be what had caused the problem. So by this time, I'm already 18 stone. So I've gone from a size 6 to a size 22.
For the next 2.5 years, Helene went on to try all kinds of medication, from natural remedies to taking pills. But nothing seemed to help her condition.
I suppose in the beginning, I probably had some strength to try. In the end, I gave up and I thought, well, if this is the way it is, I'm just going to eat and drink for the nation. And I was very depressed. It's very depressing. And it wasn't me. I felt like I was in somebody else's body.
Then one day she received a phone call back home. Her father has fallen and is in a coma.
And I stood in my kitchen and I thought, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I can get on the plane. Because it's Florida. My father was in Florida. It's hot, it's humid. And I rang a friend of my mom's and she said, you have to go because you can't be thinking this way. It's not about you, it's about your dad. And I spent the next 2 months in Florida in the heat, not thinking about it really because I was with my dad, until I had to be there when they turned, the machines went off and he died in my hands. So I thought, maybe my dad will help me to find my way back.
Well, let's welcome Helene out, who has gone from a size 22 to size 8. My gosh, Helaine, look at those. It's an honour to have you on. Thank you for coming.
Yeah,
Thank you.
pleasure.
Wow.
My
So you actually
22s.
fitted into those clothes?
I did. I stretched these clothes to the maximum, I think.
Gosh.
I think I was also a bit, you know, I know it's fashionable to have a big bum, but
Yeah.
I think I took it to an extreme.
Can you, I mean, does it seem real now, looking back, that was the size you were?
I don't know, I think at the time it was kind of unreal for me as well, because I wasn't so used to being in that body.
Yeah.
And that felt strange. Now, it's very real. It's still very real, the feeling, the sensation of filling the clothes out. Things particularly, and this is really probably not against my intimates, Kevin, but, you know, as a woman, when you're filling that up,
you're carrying a lot of weight,
you are
aren't
carrying
you,
a lot of weight.
Yeah.
And you can't move around them because I'm so active now.
Yes.
That seems a million years away, but it was just a very uncomfortable
Do you ever
place.
think back to that time much? I mean, I know we're discussing it now, but do you have moments when you think, wow, I'm so much happier now and healthier for where I am?
Every day I think about it in some way, shape or form, because now I'm working with so many people to help them achieve something very similar. And I wake up every day feeling very grateful that I can get out of bed without pain, without heavy breathing, without feeling unwell or uncomfortable,
Yeah.
and know that I can go do the things that I
I mean,
want to do.
how unhealthy were you, do you think, at that time?
When I looked down and my stomach was passing my breasts, I thought, now this is really the indicator that something's not right. But I didn't, at one point I could feel my knees beginning to weaken, and I thought, if they buckle from underneath me because of the strain of the weight on me, this is ridiculous. I'm in my 30s, I'm not in my 80s. And I'm quite small framed, so I was carrying a lot of weight on a small frame. Did it ever occur to me that fat was sitting around my organs? Probably not. It was more a vanity thing that you think about on a regular basis.
I mean, how happy were you at that time?
I was miserable. And I knew I was everyone's fat friend. So they would tell me their life stories, they would tell me about their relationships, about their jobs, but because I pretty much didn't have a life at that point, you don't really want to go out and
But
face the world.
just because, you know, you're a bit some girls are a bit heavier than others, it doesn't mean they're not happy, surely.
Oh, I don't. I think that it depends on on what you're used to, what you're comfortable in. If you're comfortable in your own skin, and I wasn't. So I might have been a size 12 or a size 14 and felt that was comfortable, but at a size 22, I knew there was too much on my frame.
Yeah.
It's also really, people will directly insult you. For some reason, most people think that overweight people or obese people have no feelings. So you're walking down the street or you meet somebody new
Yes.
and you get a comment like, beautiful eyes, shame about the body. It doesn't make you feel good. And as if I didn't know what my body looked like because I've been looking at it.
So would you say, I mean, from watching that video there, that your problem stemmed from your mother, basically, in a sense?
Physically, yes,
Yes.
because what I have is a genetically inherited condition.
Yes.
And my mom really didn't address it in herself.
But mentally and emotionally,
Yeah. Once I got past the point of not being able to be as active as I wanted to be and the weight was coming on uncontrollably, it was the loss of control. I had no control over it. And at that point, rather than doing the healthy thing and saying, well, I'll do everything I can to be as well as I can, I didn't. I did the complete opposite.
yeah. I mean, do you think when some people, men or women, you know, get to a certain weight, which, you know, you'd have to class as a obese, I suppose, do you think it's just a spiral that's out of control and they don't love themselves anymore?
Absolutely. You have no self-confidence, no self-esteem. Somewhere in there you think, well, it's only going to get worse anyway, so I may as well just, you know, help it along or enjoy the ride. So you are self-destructive. You know that it's not about being hungry, that it's doing some other job.
I mean, this word, you know, gastric bypass, it seems to be becoming more in our vocabulary right now. I mean, what do you think of that?
I have very mixed feelings about it because I think I think that it's not really necessarily about willpower and it's not about, oh, I'm medically unfit.
Right,
It's,
yeah.
about addressing the reason you eat.
Well, yeah, I mean, are the doctors addressing that core issue as a last option to give to people?
No. In my opinion, no. I think most people eat because there are problems with finances, relationships, jobs.
So the person you are now, do you love yourself?
Absolutely.
And that's a key thing, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, yes. And not just physically. It took me on a journey through the things that I was doing in my life that weren't right.
But should we be able to look in that mirror when we wake up, no matter what we look like, and just say, look, I love myself. You know, I validate myself for the person I am right now, because surely this is the first step to fixing any issues that we have deeper in ourselves.
I think you should always strive to love yourself wherever you are, but if you really loved yourself, being self-destructive doesn't go together. So it's like an
addictive, spiraling out of control, yeah. But then there's that wake-up point.
Yes.
And just remind us again, your wake-up point was?
Getting stuck in the airline seat coming back from Florida. I liken it to being an alcoholic, and it's that lowest
it's
in the gutter.
It's that aha moment, isn't it? Aha, I get it. I've got to do something about this, otherwise I'm going to die from it and leave the people that I care about behind.
And it was that I can't believe this is me that's spilling out into the side of the seat.
So just for the audience, I mean, how long did it take you to lose all that weight?
About 7 months. So relatively
it's quite quick,
quickly.
Isn't it? I mean, I didn't think they would say you can do it that quickly, but...
I think possibly because I was athletic in my youth, there is muscle memory. And also, once I got started, I think my metabolism really just
So that's your secret in a sense, is it, yeah?
and then I just got on once you get started, you know, if you're doing something once or twice a week, which is all I could do, I actually wore that bra to learn to play tennis because I couldn't get a sports bra that would fit me.
Yeah.
And play tennis, I mean, move around a court and figure out where the ball goes, because I was huffing and puffing so much. That was about all I could do. So I did that for an hour, and then I power walked for an hour.
Right.
And once a month had gone by and I'd lost about 1 stone, I then found myself in the gym.
So little bits and pieces, building yourself up.
Yeah, and it builds up.
Taking it from there, okay.
And you get the buzz from, you know, the natural high of exercise. Everyone is pretty familiar with the endorphin high. And by that time, all my other biochemical levels, so all the cortisol and all my insulin levels had kind of leveled out because I was happy. I was happier. So,
absolutely.
You know, when you are happy and
more in love with yourself as well.
Yeah.
So, okay, well, we'll hear more from Elaine just after this short break.
Visit themoreshow.co.uk/shop to purchase products and services from your favourite past guests. If you're new to this site, you can also catch up on the previous television and radio shows through YouTube and the More Show website.
Seven years ago, when Chris Floucher would see a jogger running past him, he'd think, you must be crackers. What made Chris go from an 18-stone heavy smoker to a marathon runner? At the age of 19, Chris was married to the love of his life, Michelle, and has 2 beautiful sons with her. Chris has a decent job as a builder. However, his drug addiction got the best of Chris.
I started off taking drugs, I suppose, from a very young age. 14, 15, smoking a little bit of marijuana. It wasn't a case of it was just a weekend thing in the end. It was a case of I could take it most nights as long as I'm happy and getting what I want. Doesn't really matter. I suppose it affected a lot of things.
Sometimes Chris needed drugs to get him through the working day. He was in a world of his own and thought that as long as he wasn't physically hurting anyone, everything was fine. His selfishness eventually impacted on his relationship with his family and led him to putting on weight as a result of emotional eating.
I was miserable and it was probably very hard to live with. I'd been building up steadily for years, and I was probably 18-ish stone for a good 5 years.
At 18 stone and being addicted to drugs, it appeared that things got much worse for Chris when he got a new job having to work on his own. He was not physically capable of completing a job on time.
All the people I work alongside with now, we do our own thing. And I've realised if I don't do something about this, I'm not going to be able to carry on working this way. that played quite a big part in it. Give me a shot, give me a kick of the butt of what I needed. I need to do something. You've got to sort your life out.
Well, let's welcome Chris onto the show. Chris, thank you so much for joining us. Take a seat, my friend. Take a seat. Wow. Okay. A big transformation then. I mean, just looking at you now from those pictures.
Yes, come a long way. It's been a bit of a journey.
Yes.
A good journey.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah. I mean, where you are now, would you say you're a lot happier?
Oh, a hell of a lot. Yes, a hell of a difference.
Yeah.
I've got time for people. It's much better.
And also the dog. Let's not forget the dog.
Spike, yeah. Spike was part of the plan when we initially. I decided, right, I've got to do something. I've got to lose weight. I thought, get another dog. He's going to need exercise. He'll help me along. That's what we used to do. We used to walk along the canals, a little bit of cycling. He'd run alongside me. Great. Never thought we'd get to where we are now.
Yeah.
We run.
I mean, the marathon runner as well. I mean, that must be just so. Do you pinch yourself sometimes?
I'd never thought. Like I said, runners. I'd pass them. I'd be out cycling, and I'd think, well, why not get a bike? It's obviously much easier. You used to roll down hills and stuff. You don't have to put so much effort in. I never thought I'd see myself as a runner. I'd see people running past and think, well, it's not for me. Yeah. But then it was a case of I'd fallen off the bike. I couldn't ride it anymore. Yeah. So let's give this running a go.
And so that that's got to inspire people just to know that whatever it is you're going through, we all have the answers. The answers lie within, basically. We just have to be true to ourselves. And you went with your passion, I would say. Would you not? It was something that you could say, I'd love to give that a go.
In the beginning, it was a case of how to do it. Like I say, cycling was the easiest option. Yeah. And it was a case of I've got to lose weight. Yeah. My job is affecting my job. I can't do what I need to do on my own. Yeah. We'd have boys in work and I'd be carrying windows up the stairs and he'd be thinking, good God, I think he's going to have a heart attack in a minute now. It doesn't look too good at all. And you'd get that all the time and you'd think, right, it's time, you've got to sort it out. Yes. So I'd start cycling and fallen off the bike, broke my arm, can't ride a bike anymore. I think, right, let's give running a go. And we'd live close to the beach. So I'd start running on the beach. 100 metres and I'd stop, I'd be on my knees coughing because I'd given up the smoking and everything else, the drugs and everything.
Well, that's it. That's an important part. I mean, giving up things as well. Was that a mental choice in the end, or?
Looking back now, taking the drugs, I don't think I was ever happy taking them. It was just a case of it was something I was doing. Yeah. And
I mean, can you relate to that as well, Helene?
I think the escapism part of it is that, as I said before, I knew I was getting bigger. I had to give myself a bath every day. I could see that. But you kind of go into some other place. And for me, I probably drank more. I'd say about a bottle and a half of wine a night, kind of dulled the sensation with a bit of a chicken and bacon sandwich. Yeah. Not the same as it would be with drugs, but it's an escape. For that.
And Chris, you've just got married again.
Yes.
So what's your relationship with your wife like now?
Oh, amazing. Yes. Well, hell of a difference. How she married me again, I don't know after the years of hell I must have put her through. But this has got to be one of the better parts of living. Is life is so much better now. I'm healthier. I get time. I don't come home from work anymore. I don't just stuff my face and go to sleep on the settee.
Well, I've got to say, you're a complete role model for what you've done, and that's why we wanted to get you on the show, because you really can inspire other people watching this show right now to say, look, I can do this. I can do this. And you've got to start now, because you made that conscious decision, didn't you? That it was New Year's Eve, I believe, from what my producer said, and you just said, well, look, I've got to stop now. If I don't stop now, I'm not going to stop tomorrow. Yeah.
It's so easy to say, well, yeah, I'm going to stop, but it's getting up and doing it. I had sliding wardrobes, mirrored wardrobes. Right. And I'd wake up every morning and I'd look at them and I'd think to myself, well, the state on you. What have you done to yourself? And you'd go to work and think, right, I'm going to do something about this. focus, get sorted,
Yeah.
get your act together, and do it. And then tomorrow would come and you think, oh, well, I'll have another go tomorrow. I've had a bad day, and the drugs were there.
Yes.
They'd numb everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Food.
Mm.
And it was so easy just to slip back in and forget about it. And then you'd wake up the next day and think, let's have another go. But something twigged New
Yeah.
Year's Eve, and I said to myself, you're going to do this. You've got to do it. There was the new job that started, whereas I'd had labourers with me in the past, and I could pass on all the hard graft to them. Now I've got to do it myself.
Yeah. Because it was starting to affect your work
Yes.
as well. So
Yeah.
can you relate to that as well? Would that be a kind of secret for you where you've just got to start, you just have to make that mental change now
There is
and to live in the now?
something that does happen, and for me there was a moment of surrender. There was my, as I call it, my toilet seat moment, which was my epiphany, where I just literally thought, right, I've tried everything for 2 years. I give up. I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing, but I sat down and threw my hands in the air.
Oh, so you surrendered in a sense.
Literally surrendered, yeah.
That's interesting.
And the release in accepting everything as it was. I have this condition, I'm now this size, fighting it when it has 24 hours a day to fight me, and I'm only awake about 6 hours a day because I was quite run down by that time. I was still self-employed, but I was home because I was bedridden for a few months. The release of the acceptance that it was part of me was the real change for me.
But don't you use some sort of visualization techniques as well?
Yes, yes. For myself and in the work that I do now with other people who are on the same journey, there are a lot of visualization techniques that we can use. There's the basic morning and evening visualization, and then there are a few about, particularly for women, taking care of themselves before they take care of other people automatically.
Yes.
Things around abundance, but your mind works in imagery from my point of view, and saying I want to be that white cup won't happen, but staring at the cup repeatedly. So the visualizations and the imagery keep reinforcing what you want to happen, and you make decisions that bring you to that point because that's what you see and hear.
So thought becomes creative in a sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, could you ever say, Chris, that you saw yourself, visualized yourself, just even running and making a difference, projected the thought first?
I suppose, yes,
Yeah.
thinking about it
Yeah.
constantly because of the competition side of things. And
That's interesting.
I'm training for London Marathon for my 5th marathon,
Yeah.
5th London, 15th marathon.
Congratulations.
Overall. And yes, I suppose I go through work. Oh, what's tonight's plan? What's my coach got in store for me tonight? 10 miles, 12 miles, hopefully a little easy 5 miles or something.
Yeah.
But yes, I suppose.
Well, it's absolutely inspiring what you're doing. And I mean, a marathon runner, I mean, wow, just to get, even get out in the morning and think of running, for me, other thoughts take I've got to do this, I've got to do that. But yes, I mean, you just have to stick with something sometimes and see it through. And it's ever so good for you, isn't it, just to get out and just be out in the open.
Oh,
Being
yes,
around Mother Nature, there's
the freedom of it.
special about that, isn't there? Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you can always find an excuse to not do this, and if it's the same priority, if your health and well-being is the same priority as a meeting or something else that you schedule in, you do have to give it that priority.
Yes.
And we can always find an excuse to not do that if we're not ready.
I mean, you're a full-time, aren't you, Zumba instructor?
I'm a part-time Zumba instructor.
Sorry, I do, yeah.
And spend most of my time with Renaissance Woman now, which we're leading on to Renaissance Man, which is body transformation programs for people, which hopefully leads on to life transformation.
Well, I've seen you in action. You're very inspiring. You are. And that takes a lot of energy to keep up what you do.
Actually, that night was particularly energetic when you came to class.
No, it was great. So, well, thank you both for joining us. I really
Pleasure.
do appreciate that. Okay. Well, we'll be back soon. Stay tuned. Coming up, discover the secret of permanent weight loss with life coach Ali Campbell and intuitive counsellor Jules Williams.
Visit themoreshow.co.uk/shop to purchase products and services from your favourite past guests. If you're new to this site, you can also catch up on the previous television and radio shows through YouTube and the More Show website.
Ali Campbell is a celebrity life coach, or best known as Mr. Fix-It. He is the creator of the internationally acclaimed weight loss solution, the Slim Girls Box of Secrets, which sold in over 44 countries. He has helped celebrities such as Kelly Rowland to refocus her career and to overcome her chocolate cravings. Let's hear from Ali.
Thanks, Kevin. It's an absolute pleasure to join on the show. And we're talking about weight loss, we're talking about food. Where better to come than here in central London, where fast food joints are all around us? Now, you see, the problem for most people when they approach the issue of losing weight is they do it from the wrong direction. They approach it as an outside-in process. And, you know, why wouldn't they? Because that's the way the diet industry is traditionally wired up. You know, if you want to lose weight, you've got to count some calories, or you've got to weigh your food, or you can't combine protein and carbohydrate, or you've got to count a number of calories and multiply them by, you know, by 9 to get the number of calories from fat and divide them by 100. You know, there's so many convoluted and complicated ways to lose weight. Now, I just don't think it should be that difficult. Because what I've found working with thousands of women around the world is that most of the time, when they approach the issue of weight loss, even though they may be very successful in every other area of their life, you know, it's family, relationships, or the career, approach weight loss with an expectation of failure. And that's because most women, particularly when they start that journey of losing weight or dieting, is they do so when they're in their mid-teens. But of course, if you to give them the opportunity now to go back to the weight that they were then, or even in their 20s, they would jump at it. Because the problem isn't necessarily on the outside, the problem is on the inside. And the problem is in the way we think about ourselves and the way we think about food. Now, if we approach it the other way around, weight loss has got nothing to do with food. Fast food joints exist in everybody's world. The problem isn't the food, the problem is your relationship with food. And as soon as you change that, everything else is inevitable. Imagine if you don't think about cake, you don't eat cake. It's as simple as that. If you never get a craving, then you never find yourself reaching for a bar of chocolate at 9 o'clock at night. The process, and this isn't just for weight loss, this is for everything. The process of human behavior goes external stimulus, usually you see something or you hear something. Then you have a thought about that thing. Then, in the sense of chocolate or also shoes and handbags, your brain releases a very powerful brain chemical called dopamine. And that's the chemical that creates a want or a desire. And then, of course, you want that thing, so you have that thing. So it goes thought, feeling, action. Now, most weight loss interventions try to help you to fight that urge or to beat your weight or fight the battle of the bulge, somewhere between the craving and the fridge. And that's when it's at its most difficult. That's when you're supposed to find different ways to go without, or really have so much self-control that you can manage everything that you're going to be putting in your mouth. It doesn't have to be that difficult. Thought, feeling, action. Now what happens, of course, if you're sat there just now and you're having a craving right now watching this, let me help you with the fastest way that I know to take that craving away, possibly for good. I want you to think about the thing. Really tune into that food that's creating that urge or that desire in your body. Just really think about it and rate it on a scale from 1, where it's not really affecting you at all, to 10, where, you know, if it was 2 o'clock in the morning and it was raining, you would still go out to the 24-hour garage and get a bar of that chocolate or that cheese or whatever it is. Then I want you to take 2 fingers on your right hand and just tap where your eyebrow meets your nose, firmly enough that you can feel it, but not so firmly that it's going to make a bruise. Then just come down just below your eye, just where your little crease on your cheekbone, and tap there. Come down just under your collarbone on the same side. Tap, 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 that's it. Then cross over under your armpit on the left-hand side. Then come down onto what we'll call the karate chop part of your left hand. And then flip your hand over, and the next part is where your ring finger and your little finger meet and come about an inch further up. Call that the gamut spot. Keep tapping there. Now keep tapping and just follow my finger with your eyes. We're going to come up diagonally in one direction and then back down. Up diagonally in the other direction and back down. Now all the time you're keeping tapping. Whirl your eyes round in one way, whirl your eyes round the other way. Count 1 to 5 out loud with me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hum happy birthday. Count 1 to 5 again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then just look at the floor, look at the ceiling, and stop tapping. Now I want you to rate that craving again on that scale from 1 to 10. Where is it now? What most people will find is that it's either halved or disappeared completely. If it's halved, just repeat the process again and let it go. That is the fastest way that I know to eliminate cravings, possibly for good. I really hope that helps.
Well, that was very informative, and thanks so much, Ali. I'm now joined by Jules Williams, who is an intuitive counsellor. He has successfully helped clients overcome deep-rooted subconscious issues relating to addictions, weight, struggles, and destructive relationships. He has just released his groundbreaking new book, The Way Forward. Jules, welcome to the show.
Kevin, thank you very much.
You know, with what Ali had to say there with food cravings, I mean, what way would you come into that? I mean, how would you treat that?
I think for me, that's a stage. Any NLP or mental processing level, as I'd call it, is another stage to the root. It's not the root. It won't deal with the root. It's like he says, from the outside in. Completely agree. Very wise words. I know Helene said that earlier on, and it's very much from the inside out. But the root of that is a core emotional block within the subconscious. There's a core emotional trauma. What you saw Ali doing there with some tapping techniques, it's emotional releasing, but the person has to be present and conscious with what they are releasing. If someone has a deep-rooted issue of low self-worth because of an abandonment in childhood, for example, that will give a temporary release, but you still have to go back to the emotional cause and get reconciliation that way. To go back to that block, 7-year-old them, get reconciliation, get them to understand what was going on then.
Yes.
And that also involves, part of a spiritual process too. So
yes.
Yeah, I think it's fantastic for us as a group consciousness. We've gone from it's purely physical, it's diet and exercise. It's come and gone cyclically. If there's a serious issue going on, it doesn't work. The mind guys and the motivational gurus as such have started to address it on a mental level. There's a lot of words there about thinking and thoughts. But the deep over here, the next level it's emotional. That's the core on the inside. And then if you work out that way, you get the benefits, the full benefits of all your mental techniques, and then you get the full benefits of all your physical choices of what you choose to do.
Do you think, though, that when we make these choices to change our lifestyle, do you think we subconsciously go that deep? Do you think we know we've gone that deep to fix the root cause? I mean, do you have to be aware that you're fixing it first?
I think that's a really good question. I think there's two important things there. I think the nation as a whole, or we as a race, we've shifted a consciousness anyway. So people, I feel, having dealt with clients over, say, a 20-year period, people, if they have all the answers within their own subconscious, they are the most able person on this planet to understand themselves and to make changes. I would never put myself out, I can make you lose weight or whatever the cause is. Not at all. I can offer the tools, the facilitations, and then they themselves, once they get it. So I think the nation's changed, everyone's raised a level of consciousness up that gives them that ability. But also, you start a process. It was interesting when Helene was there, and both Helene and Chris said they're total inspiration, on a physical level of what they've come through. And
absolutely.
If we use that as an example, when you asked Helene, what was that, window, that moment when you wanted to change? And Helene talked about, it was the seat in the aeroplane. Yeah. But she just, don't forget, there's a huge emotional shift that's just gone on. She just lost her father. There's a huge emotional backlog within the subconscious of an emotional relationship with her father, with men, with what's been pressed. There's a huge trigger of going through that loss that can shift and facilitate, which is quite common, only in my experience. Yes. With that then the thought, right, I've got to do something. So, and Chris, it's interesting, only to use that parallel for what we're talking about tonight. Chris said the same thing. He was, he's working for himself, but I've got to do something. But again, I know he'd mentioned in his backstory that, he'd witnessed his father had had a heart attack. There's a huge shift in the subconscious. Oh my God!
Unbeknownst to him, probably, in a
fear
sense,
of death
maybe.
coming up or something. Yeah. There's something that's triggered it in the subconscious. So I'm not saying that's dealt with it, but it's started in the subconscious a different form of patterning now that allows change to then take place. And as you go through change, you feel better and you change your chemotional, as I coined a phrase, makeup.
Start loving ourselves more.
Then you start attracting in the rest of the healing, and that's why I think they're perfect examples. The girl, Chris and Elaine, because Elaine even used the word surrendered. She got to a stage where there's a spiritual aspect that came in.
Absolutely.
I've got to trust something else. Here.
Yeah, something higher than myself. Yeah, no matter what we may term that as.
Exactly.
Yeah? But it's that aha moment. It's like, I get it now. I know what I've got to do. Does it have to be that severe, though?
No, not at all. I think the thing is, what amazes me sometimes is that ask pretty much everybody on the street and they'll say, oh yeah, we are physical, mental, emotional and spiritual beings. But as soon as you start verging into the emotional and spiritual realms, in terms of physical actions and diet and exercise or mental thinking about things, as you know, the VT just playing there, thought process and visualizations, people are much more comfortable on that level. But there's this huge aspect, which is actually, from my understanding, and I have come from a very physical place in my life and a very intellectual, mental level too, it's all about the soul and the subconscious. That's the root. If you can work on your connection and you can understand your emotional intelligence, where are your, and if I got through all the emotions, bare bones, there's an abandonment issue with everybody, there's a self-worth issue with everybody.
Yes.
You get to the root of those, you then work your way out, and it's very easy after that.
Okay, Jules, after the break, we'll get more into the spiritual side of the healing process as well. So join us after the break when we will have more from Jules.
Visit themoreshow.co.uk/shop to purchase products and services from your favourite past guests. If you're new to this site, you can also catch up on the previous television and radio shows through YouTube and the More Show website.
Welcome back. We're still here with Jules Williams. Now, Jules, one of the issues that I want to discuss with you as well, which I find fascinating from reading your book, is the God issue and how you relate that to this whole, losing weight. It's incredible.
I think as a title, I thought, well, may as well, people get quite twitchy with talking about religion, your spirituality, your connection, whatever, so let's get straight in there. It's the God issue. And when you're dealing with people with serious weight, you will always come back at some stage to their spirituality. Now, that, when I say the God issue, obviously I'm covering anything to do with their spiritual connection. If I start off, first of all, on a very tangible level, I might be clearing a block of, I had a girl the other day, I was actually doing a show, so she's in the audience, she asked, here's my name, Jane, what's going on with me? And straight away it was a past life with her. So I think this explains it very succinctly. She had a past life that I picked up on straight away, where she was a nun. She'd had an affair with a monk. That's actually very common. I've actually seen a lot of those lives. But the way the religious edict was, she got really punished for that. But another nun had basically grassed her up, if you want to use those words. So I'm picking up on this straight away, and I'm saying, okay, this is a nun life. You were grassed up by another sister. She was ostracized from everyone else, and she ended up dying in isolation because of that event. So, okay, no big deal. That's not going to help us really, is it? That's just a past life I picked up on. But I said, in this life, she put on weight when her sister was born. Her sister was about 6 years younger than her. She confirmed that and said, absolutely. I said, that sister was the same soul that had grassed her up in the past life. So how does that affect her now? So a pattern which she, basically open mouth, because she hadn't been able to understand it physically, mentally, what was wrong, she had an overriding fear of being exposed. So as soon as she's in a relationship, she had this fear she couldn't even understand. She couldn't tell her family whenever she was in a relationship. There would never have been a judgment, but she just couldn't. She had hid everything from her sister.
Yeah.
She always had felt her whole life her sister was going to double-cross her, stab her in the back, and yet her sister couldn't be nicer in this life. So here she was as a grown woman with all this suppressed emotion, and every time she went into a relationship, 4 stone could go on, like that.
Yeah. Because
that fear in the subconscious has been triggered. I'm in a relationship, I'm going to be found out, I'm going to suffer and, be punished.
Right.
So if you see, I know I've said that quite quickly to give you a story, but if you look at that essence in the subconscious, everyone knows the example of a celebrity that brings out a fitness video and they haven't even seen a gym because they've come out of a destructive relationship. The subconscious doesn't need that protection anymore, and weight is protection. So I'm not saying that would be a past life, but it would definitely be
it's
an emotional trigger in this life.
It's incredible stuff. So it's a whole subject in its own right. But what you're saying is that if past lives do exist, which is very possible, that these are triggers for what we couldn't understand on this level now, but there's something from our past that we're bringing back into this life that's causing issues now. I mean, that's
definitely. And I believe in the soul implicitly. I say in the book, I say, if you do not believe in the soul, you're going to have to address a belief. You don't believe in religion, you're an atheist. Do you believe in any connection? Because we all have a connection to a higher source of such, whatever that is. So I said, even if you consider that it's coded DNA that's been passed down from your ancestors and has been unlocked or triggered, and well, okay, think of it that way, but you're still going to have to come back to a connection. And this is the whole thing when I say about the God issue, is that our spirituality, there's duality. Our whole world at the moment is run on duality. Whether you support Manchester United and Liverpool, whether you watch Coronation Street or EastEnders, or whether you are Christian or Muslim, and all that duality basically is keeping us disconnected. And if you watch the way things are speeding up at the moment, people are losing that ability to contemplate, to work with their intuition, to act on instinct, to feel, to sit quietly and give time for themselves.
Give us some sort of practical steps where we can just be in that moment and connect with ourselves, and if there is issues that we're not dealing with, that we can sort of, at least start the process.
I think that very thing is sitting quietly. Let's keep everything simple. I know when Hela was on earlier on and saying, she felt she'd gone through an example of a time where you're helping everyone else, you're needing to be needed, you're making sure everyone else is okay. When people go through that, they'll say, oh, God, I'm so tired, I want some time on my own. As soon as they're on their own, they're thinking, who's on Facebook? Who can I text now? Who can I have a call for? Let's go and get involved in another drama, let's get involved in someone else. So if you actually say, right, turning everything off, I'm going to sit quietly in a room for 10 minutes and I'm just going to see what comes out. That sounds, now for me, I'll be happy sitting there for a couple of hours. But for some people, that 10 minutes, they can be running up the walls. And everyone has 5-10 minutes to literally switch off. But it's amazing the sabotages that will come up. Oh, I'll do it after. I'm just going to do the ironing. I'm just going to call somebody else.
Yes. Just like we say,
sabotage.
and Chris and Hela was saying earlier on about, just starting the process now of whatever it is they would love to do, which was obviously, the running and the Zumba class and more with Hela as well. But okay, so if we don't tackle these emotional issues, where does that leave us then with the weight that we may have lost in that? I mean, if the weight's off, is that saying that we've tackled them and we're kind of healed?
I think it speaks for itself there. You look at slimming, I won't name the slimming organisations, but they have a 95% failure rate. 95%. So
that's huge, isn't it?
The weight isn't staying off, is it? Sheer willpower or a trigger of emotional relationships or loss, suffering, death, self-worth issues, you've got a new job, they may be lying dormant. So now's the time to go to a slimming organisation. But then you lose a job or you go into a different relationship or you suffer an accident, they'll come straight back up and then the weight goes back on.
But that person's got to want to heal. I mean, most people do, well, not most, I shouldn't say that, but people do turn around and say, well, that's nonsense. I've put the weight on because, I've just been eating the wrong diet. And
I'm big boned. I'm feeding the kids. There's no good food at work. I've heard them all.
You've heard them all.
Absolutely, completely. But then, it's not to give yourself a hard time. And I say that in the book, and you're absolutely right. This is all subconsciously driven, so we don't know that unless you're working with your subconscious. So the conscious mind will then find validation in I'm big boned, eating food.
But what if you do fail then? I mean, not fail, that's a wrong word. I don't believe in failure.
No, I agree.
But what if it's just not working out for you? What if you're not losing it?
Now's the time to go and have a look at the root emotional cause as to why you're holding on to weight. That's the bottom line. If you do, and I can talk again from clients, that it's not just the losing weight, that's the easy part, get them to lose weight. It's the being balanced and holding that weight off for a long period of time. Because they recognise when they're being triggered.
Right.
Hang on a sec. I've just gone into a relationship. I'm feeling vulnerable. I'm feeling like 7-year-old me because Dad left, and I thought it was my fault. And et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. They recognise because they've cleared it. They can go, it's all right. He loves me. But not 7-year-old me now going through that same abandonment.
No, absolutely not. But then, do you think sometimes for us to go that deep, do you think we can do that ourselves, or do we need extra help sometimes?
Like I said earlier on, they are growing in vibration or awareness, whatever word you want to use. But no, I think there's a lot of tools out there. I personally would go straight into the subconscious on a guided visualizations, not visual visualizations, but guided visualizations to get to the subconscious to clear the block. But people can do it. I've had clients that are artists and sit quietly for 5 minutes and then splurge onto the canvas, an event of childhood. That works for them. So you need some form of emotional release, and there's many ways.
Yeah, and again, what we're speaking about here, this can be applied to, you know, relationships that have gone wrong. We put weight on sometimes after relationships that have been terrible in a sense, or we've not dealt with it or forgiven certain people. Is forgiveness a big part of it?
I mean, forgiveness of the self. This is, you know, I talk in the God issue, I mentioned about spiritual ego, as I would call it. It's funny that a lot of, you know, my profession, intuitives, a lot of psychics, a lot of healers, huge weight issues, because the spiritual is a great excuse not to deal with your issues. And
also, I call myself spiritual, yet I'm not really living that life.
I'm here to heal the world,
I'm the guru.
But it's not. You know, they're not dealing with it. So it's the balance again: spiritual, emotional, physical, and mental. And that spiritual ego is, when you say forgiveness, you cannot forgive everybody else until you forgive yourself. So even if you're like, oh, forgive them. Oh, they were just doing the best that they could with the knowledge and the wisdom that they had. The subconscious 7-year-old you is going, swearing like a trooper and saying, but what about me? So you have to forgive yourself, absolutely unequivocally, forgive yourself first, then it's easy to forgive
I think I know
others.
what you're saying there. I've just had a bit of a moment. I think what you're saying is that when you believe that when you live in hope that the past could be any different than what it is, you're not going to forgive. You have to just say in the moment, the past happened the way it was, I cannot change it. Don't live in hope anymore that it would be different. Stop living in hope and start that process of moving on. If there was something, you know, that was really awful that happened.
I think you do need a reconciliation of the past. If I always go to the root block, so say it was 7-year-old you'd have to go back and let the stuck aspect of your soul at 7 see where you are now, see the whole story, and a form of spiritual healing.
Can be quite
to
painful
get them into
sometimes,
healing,
though, can't it?
then you can move on.
It can be painful though, can't it, to do that?
The thought of it's painful, but I think once the process, the relief is, oh, why was that bothering me for so long? From there.
And then just release it.
And then it has to go. And it was nice, I think, when Chris said earlier on, when he and Michelle remarried, you know, that to me, again, on a spiritual level, we've lost the ability for ritual, for ceremony, for something that tells the subconscious, this is a new beginning, this is us releasing the old, moving on for the new. So naturally, because Chris had shifted so much emotional, you know, attachment and things like that, they did a natural ritual and a ceremony which the subconscious can let go of all the old and start again with the new. And that's what I mean, where you have all the answers yourself if you start that process of self-investigation.
Right. And what advice would you have for the audience that's watching this at home, that are thinking, that triggers something in me that did, watching this?
Don't underestimate how powerful, in terms of your own understanding, is. All of that, and I know that's the one thing, you know, I picked up on that Ali said earlier on the VT, is that everything's been external. You don't need someone to tell you, you don't need a diet, exercise program, quick fix, pill or potion. You just need to give yourself time to self-investigate. And you can just sit down with a pen and write 3 pages of flow, you know, as I call channeled writing every day. That will bring stuff up. As long as you give yourself the time, you will reveal the answers. I really believe that with clients and everything.
Well, Jules, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Kevin. It's great.
For more information, go to themoreshow.co.uk. And don't forget, you can also follow us on Facebook and Twitter to get the latest updates on the show. So thanks for watching. And thanks, everyone, for being here. Thank you so very much. Thank you very much. Really good, really good. Really interesting as well. Don't forget, you can also hear The More Show Late Night Talk on various FM stations across the UK. Check The More Show website for station listings.
If you like what you watch, then don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Twitter for the latest updates on The More Show. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel for new weekly television and radio shows.